All right. Well, yeah. What are we talking about today then?
Well, we get a lot of questions around UX. What is UX? Why is UX? Where is UX? And when is UX? And I think like in the product space, it's a little bit more, or at least with product companies, I think user experience is something that's a bit more defined in terms of like the outputs and outcomes of user experience. In the web space, it's a bit more abstract maybe because in the past, um, the field has been primarily known as web design, and it still is, I think, in a lot of contexts. So, yeah, let's just talk about defining UX design, web design, differences, similarities, where one outshines the other, stuff like that.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think it's good to just try to contextualize like what you just said and why it's so complicated. If you look at just how far we've come, it's like we used to have just the web at one
Hmm.
point, and it was like the Wild West. People were doing websites, and like back in that day, it was interaction design, and before that, it was human computer interaction design. Like all of these roles of being a UX practitioner have evolved over time.
Yeah,
HCI was probably the first one, and then interaction designer, web designer, now it's UX designer and product designer. But I think things got really complicated when we moved from those like really poorly built but like exciting websites where there were no rules to an area where you had to start building like products. There was like e-com and things happening there. But
web applications more
yeah, like,
recently.
and if you think back even to that day too, like you and I, we were installing software with CDs at one point, right? Like products were not on the web. The web was
Yeah.
websites and websites only. There were no web apps, products, but
Hmm.
now it's like we're past that Wild West phase and like everything runs on the web. Your software as a service is on the web. If it's something that you can install on your computer, it's probably somehow running on the web. Like that's where things have really evolved, and that's where the overlap was. But there's still a very clear distinction between like a website and a product. A website, like for a lot of the work that we do on the website side, it is marketing. It's that marketing layer. It's brochureware. Like a website by those standards, even if it's got like more business logic baked in,
Hmm.
it's still that marketing layer.
Yeah, I think depends. Obviously, I'm sure you agree with that as well. Like the way I kind of talk about it with clients often is that it's like when they're in the early stages of figuring out what they're trying to do, it's there's a range, right? Like a marketing website in my mind is a brochureware. So something that's designed to be, I mean, even that has quite a wide range, but like something that's either designed to be static and is just like a face for something that you're doing. It might be some simple interactions, or you're really trying to wow people, and that could be also pretty complex, or it could be just like a big emphasis on aesthetics. And then on the other side of the scale, which I think we do a lot more of, is websites with more business logic and way more features, which I think lean more towards product than website, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. Like I would say if you're in aesthetics, like that's the storytelling surface.
Yeah.
Even even if it's complicated, like the wow factor is complicated, that's still probably the storytelling
Mhm.
part of the web experience. So while there might be some level of UX involved, it's not really the UX that we're talking about. Like the web
Mhm.
design shapes first impressions, but the UX shapes that lasting impression as well.
Yeah.
Because
And just the
the this
usability,
yeah, the usability, but the stuff that
which
we build is supposed to have like long-term engagement. You're supposed to like come back, you're supposed to be doing things with it. It's not
yeah,
just
yeah,
once and done,
yeah, exactly.
look at this beautiful layout. It's like, well, the question is, what do I do with that as a user? What am I
Yeah.
clicking on? What's converting me? I don't think I've ever seen a website beyond just an artist's website that doesn't ask you to actually do something, right? Even artist websites, they're there as a bit of a calling card.
I don't know, like some marketing websites where it's just company information. Like, do you consider that doing something? Is that how you
Yeah,
would you define
it's
like
proof of
clicking?
life. Like
Okay.
it's still marketing, right? Contact information is there to contact someone, right?
Yeah, true.
If anything, a contact page or a site is like the purest form of that
Hmm.
because you're very explicitly saying the content on this page is here for you to connect with us. Connect if you want. Yeah. So I think like it is complicated. Like you said, it is a range or a
Mhm.
spectrum, and you need to be really selective when you're choosing where your project lands on it because you can very easily lean too far into one side, like the pragmatic, functional versus the aesthetic brand storytelling.
Yeah, I find most B2B stuff is on the, well, actually, maybe that's not true. I was going to say most of it is on the pragmatic functional side, but there's still an element of focus on that storytelling layer. I mean, there's always that storytelling layer, but I was just thinking like most of the B2B work, I think, is skews more towards the like pragmatic side and less heavy on the storytelling side.
It does.
It depends on the project. Sometimes they have micro projects that are more towards the storytelling side, like because it just end of the day it depends heavily on like what the goal is.
And what infrastructure it is. Some of the B2B stuff that we do has portals. So you'll have that
Yeah.
marketing stuff up front that's more informational or storytelling. And then you
Hmm.
have the login, which is probably a member portal or a subscriber portal where they can access deeper information because they're a paying member.
Hmm.
And that's when you start going from just marketing more into the product side.
So how would you define user experience design and web design?
Yeah, I mean, I think I told you before this call, might get us into some flame battles here.
That's your specialty though.
Yeah, I do think that web design, at least in the context of tennis, is very much that aesthetic layout brand layer. And then I think that UX is more of the what are we doing here, guys? Like, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? What do we want someone to do? And like, how does it operate? That is the UX layer.
And how does it support the business workflows?
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah. And that's why I think that I like to think that we're not a unique team and maybe we aren't, but I do find that our UX side is really well equipped to have those discussions that bridge between marketing, business, and technology in a way that at least I haven't had those conversations with some other teams before. So, yeah, I think that if you're able to have those conversations across an organization in that way and code switch between them, understand
mhm.
those needs, like that's the role of UX. It's not just purely, well, where are we going to put this button to optimize conversions? It's what's the purpose of the button? What is written on that? What happens after? How does this connect to the business requirements? How does this connect to the technology and the infrastructure? There's all of those questions that are so deeply embedded in our work that's beyond just, well, where are we putting the button? And that's
Mhm.
why I think like web design is very much the aesthetics, and that's where I think you'll see some disagreement for sure.
So here's the challenging part too, which I think muddies the waters a lot, is that everyone's trying to market themselves and everyone's trying to take advantage of search, obviously, because if you don't, you're literally not present. And people are still like web design is the output in a client's mind. So, like clients aren't often searching, I mean, a lot of people aren't often searching or connecting with user experience design when they're doing a kind of like search. You see it in RFPs, you see it in requests all the time. It's web design, right? Yeah. I just think that's an interesting nuance because you also have to sort of position yourself in a way that companies understand what you actually do. And I think a lot of companies don't understand why they would come to you
No,
in some context when it comes to just the term user experience design.
it's true. And I used to wonder why that was the case, or like I just expected them to. It's like an industry standard term, but it is just jargon at the end of it. It's jargon that gets thrown around. It's also regional.
Yep.
Like when when we're in San Francisco, everyone knows what UX design is. Like
Yeah.
there is no question about it, but it's also a place where you're in the city and there's ads for Stripe and ads for
Yeah.
AI and like software as a service. I think I saw like one tooth whitening dentistry ad on a bus and we were there for a week. Everything else was just tech, AI, and like software as a service. It's cool. But then here, you don't see that. It's not as embedded in the culture. So I think
Hmm.
it's definitely regionalized in that way. And part of the negative impact I think of that is that because everyone is looking for web design, they're really fixated on the website being that marketing layer, and they need to start thinking about the website as a product, not just this marketing surface, Because when you flip and start thinking about the website as a product instead, it changes the entire narrative about what it is you're building,
Hmm.
who you're building it for, how you should
The
maintain
longevity
it. Yeah, longevity. What are the
goals.
cycles? Like, I think like that is a big monumental shift that I would love to see, at least in our region, Toronto specific, Canada,
Hmm.
which is like the website is a facet of a product. In a way, it is the product. And we're not seeing that yet, but that is like one of my big things that I try to promote with our clients.
Yeah. There's also just like, I mean, it's not that new, but in the sort of time we've been in the space, optimization software and things like that um, have become way more popular. I see Hotjar a lot more now embedded in websites. It's an interesting conversation. Like people are actually quite interested in optimization in the discussions that we have, way more than they used to be. So I think it's like changing a little bit. It's also software like Hotjar just makes it a lot easier to actually do and optimize if you're thinking about optimization and not just like overall
Yeah.
management. Obviously, products are different slightly in what they need and what they're required to continuously be performing.
Yeah. But that's the thing. If you're thinking about it as a product, then you're thinking about optimizing it. So
Hmm.
it becomes it's like a UX led site. Actually, it doesn't just look good at launch. It's like going to be better and better every month because you're coming back to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It also means that the retainer model should change. Like your retainers shouldn't be spent on maintaining your tech. I mean, if it's custom tech, it's inevitable. Things
Brand new
shouldn't be
website.
breaking. Yeah.
Brand new website, and the amount of companies that you talk to that are on like fix it retainers
Oh
right
my
out the
gosh.
gate and are actively using a lot of retainer hours for like bug fixes and stuff like that. Like it's just like I don't understand it. And like how does that happen unless there's I mean, I know there was a model where you were trying to kind of like make the website, well, maybe it was partly because of technology, but like the website was so complicated that clients couldn't actually use it that effectively. So the idea was, you retain the web developer, it will build it, and you retain us to manage it in perpetuity, basically. And I see that model still happening quite a bit. But yeah, it's crazy to me that how often it still exists and how often companies are just tied into relationships that are just horrible, like waste of money, things just constantly breaking. Their hands are tied, can't update the site, can't use the site, things like that.
No. And they're just wasting money without much value. It's just they're subsisting.
We've had the same conversations. The amount of money on maintenance that is not valid is just crazy. How much companies are spending. If they just spent a little bit more on deploying a proper website, probably would not have to rely on the vendor at all to fix it.
Yeah, you want your money to go to something that's higher impact than just fixing bugs.
If that's your goal, yeah.
Yeah, ideally.
Yeah.
And yeah, I get it for custom
Some people
software.
just want the website to just live and be a face, and hopefully people will reach out based on the work that you're showing and stuff like that.
Yeah. But there's also this attitude around websites where it's like ship it and forget about it.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
it's bad from an SEO perspective, it's bad from a marketing brand perspective, and it's bad from technology. So again, like
Yeah.
treat it like a product. Continuous improvement, it's like the fastest way to keep getting better and better.
Hmm.
And it also means that you're not reinventing everything every 3 to 5 years too.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I feel like we got definitely on a bit of a tangent in terms of
Yeah, yeah,
what is
support.
UX versus web
Hmm.
design. But so what have we got now? We've got web design. We say that it's the aesthetics, it's the marketing layer. UX is that bridge. It talks about like business mechanics, the what and the why of the experience. And then UI is also a thing that gets mentioned that complicates things. I'm not going to do it much justice right now, but UI is in a way on that design side of things. It is how things look, how they operate, the like interactions, the
Hmm.
animations. It's the nuances of the experience. But it's also when you start talking about enterprise design, it is that layer that focuses on consistency, usability, and clarity of interaction. So that's where UI differs a little bit from design. I'd still put web design more on the branding, aesthetics, layout side of things. UI is design systems, so managing and maintaining all of that. And then UX is, like I said earlier, why are we doing this? What is the purpose of this? And how do we connect those business goals and technology to the actual interface layer of the website or the product that we're doing?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That's kind of where I'm feeling we're at right now.
We did it.
Yeah. But I mean, we didn't really answer. Do we dare answer? Are UX designers better for the web?
Let's preface it with saying that I think that there's actually an element of, well, I don't know if all companies can do both, but I do feel like you do need both.
You do, yeah.
But yes, go on, tell me more.
Yeah, I mean, you do need both. This is it's probably the design industry's like biggest gripe about the role definition is that designers just they end up inhabiting all of these different roles, right? It's a spectrum. You're going to have a UX designer who's maybe very capable with the web design, layout, brand side, and the UX and the UI systems building side. They're classified as the unicorns. And then you'll have people who are exceptionally good at the UX and managing the UI systems, not great with layout. Like they really just can't hack that brand aesthetics taste side of things, right? Sure, they can apply color and type systems, but they're overly systematic to a point that they just kind of remove the soul of a product, right? So the unicorn is the UX, UI, web layout aesthetics kind of designer. I still think that if you can find a UX design team that can handle the UX, UI, and the brand application, you're still going to net out better than someone who's leaning more towards the aesthetic side, because what you're going to end up there with is like possibly a system that's not scalable, something that's harder to implement, something that leans a little too hard into the brand story and not enough into that conversion rate optimization. So it is like there's unicorns out there, but there's also the good, better, best perspective here. So
Yeah.
the
And
good
and
is
from an organization perspective, some companies are specifically want to be on that aesthetic side and not on the functional side. I think where the problem comes in is that when there's an organization let's position themselves as web design and then start hitting on stuff that is probably better suited for either a blend or a UX design company, that's where there's some risk for the client. And I think it's also something that's like really hard to identify because everyone's also using language interchangeably because of search and marketing and positioning to some extent. But there are companies out
yeah,
there that are like, you would not think you would go to them to do product leaning web experiences. You would go to them to do much more of that, like storytelling, high visual impact experience. Most of them are like they're purposely positioned that way, but every now and then you come across like a company that's trying to get into the UX onto the UX side and is not really built for that.
no, for sure. And we've pitched on work where we know some of the other agencies pitching on the same work. And it's like they're
Mm,
very aesthetics. Like they make beautiful, engaging work. I'm very jealous of it. But I know that like their product, their UX side is non-existent. And
yeah, totally.
it's a pretty risky bet to go if you're just basing it purely off of aesthetics. Like beautiful sites alone are not going to solve the business problems, but like UX driven sites will. And that's why there's that good, better, best approach, right? The best is those unicorns I mentioned. The better is UX should be your default, in my opinion, and good is okay, well, we're going to get a beautiful website out of it, but it's probably going to miss the mark on a whole range of other things. It might be a great flash in the pan for our marketing perspective, but it's going to miss the mark on pretty much everything else, right?
Yeah, good. Yeah.
And back to what I was saying earlier too, like I find that if you have a team that's really in that middle ground where UX is a focus, but they can also like handle it at a bare minimum some of the aesthetics or like a good percentage of them, they're able to talk across teams, the marketing teams, the developers, the operational teams, because they're thinking about all these different facets of the website as a product, not just what's that surface level? How do I make this the coolest experience ever? Cool sells
Yeah,
for a split second until it falls out of favor or people get frustrated and leave because it's hard to use.
makes sense. Very hard building those teams, especially if it's an organization that doesn't have experience across all those capabilities. seen that be an issue quite a few times.
Yeah. No,
Ah,
it's for sure. Well, how do we wrap this up?
that's it. We did it. We did it. We defined it. We solved it. That's it. Call it a wrap.
We
30
solved it.
minutes. We solved the problem. Yeah.
Okay.
Of not being able to tell the difference between web design and UX design.
Did we create more problems or less problems?
Only time will tell.
All right. Well, that's a good way to end.
Yeah, see ya.
All right. See you later.